I just want to start this video off by saying, please excuse any background noise. Of course, when I'm filming a video, my neighbor is mowing, and my dad is playing saxophone. So, just getting that out of the way. But I gotta show you guys my truck. I just cleaned it and waxed it and clay barred it for the first time. I should have done this a really long time ago, and I guess I've just been neglecting it, but here's how it looks after all that. I don't know what's going on over there. There's a plane wing. After all this was done yesterday, so as you can see, I mean, there's still some like dirt and stuff just because it has been outside. I was surprised to see how little was actually coming off on the clay bar, but I guess I haven't driven it in like too much mud or driven it for too long, but the paint actually is in pretty great shape. I mean, looking at it, this is a brand new fender because that tree right there, after a tornado, just decided to fall on the side of my truck. And as you can see right there, it just completely split and fell over. If I have any pictures, I'll put it in, but I don't think I can get any right now. 09 Sierra 1500, it's got a 5.3, almost 1,500 miles. Or wait, no, that would be like ridiculous. No, 150,000. So back to the main point of this video. This is my uncle's bike. He got it brand new, I think, in '73. Started off in Colorado, kind of had his life there. He never really rode it too much, but I can tell when he did ride it, he was kind of rough with it. There's a lot of stuff on here that looks like it wouldn't be just normal wear and tear. I'll show you guys what I mean. Here's the bike. Yes, in its current stature, it is pretty bare. Don't worry, I do have all the parts for it. Right now, this is kind of where it sits. This is a 1973 RT1. Now, I thought that was interesting because from what I heard, the research that I did, RT1 was only 70 through 71, and then RT2 was 72, and then RT3 was 73, but apparently this is a 1973 RT1. So that's where that is, I guess. I checked with Yamaha. I got an official paper. I don't really know what the story is with that. I guess that's what it is. Hopefully I can get this thing registered and titled. That is my plan after all. What I want to do is I want to get this thing back ready for the road. So I'm getting new tires and tubes, and I'm getting, I have to actually, I'll show you guys what I'm doing. I guess the best place to start would be with kind of the heart of the machine here. It was in pretty good running condition. It would start pretty easily, and even after sitting long periods of time, it would still fire up pretty consistently. It did have both an oil leak, because it is oil injection, and a fuel leak, so I had to get those sorted out. What happened with the oil leak actually was this cover is the cover for the oil pump, and it had a big chip in it somehow. I have no idea how it got there, but it was in the inside actually, so where this corner meets up, it was in kind of that groove of the plate. It's kind of hard to explain just with it sitting there, but that's kind of where it was, and I had to fill that in with some JB quick weld and like that little stick tube stuff. When this engine was running, it had a really terrible piston slap, and I never really noticed that until I ended up taking the head off and noticing how loose the piston actually was inside the cylinder. So obviously, since my uncle rode this and he didn't ride it a whole lot, this is the original top end. You can see where the rings started to fail here, and that's an easy sign to tell that it's really started to lose some compression. Actually, the decompression release that you're supposed to use when you're starting up the bike, that lever broke. The bike was easy to start anyway, so that was kind of a sign that the bike did have bad compression. So yeah, easy to tell. I mean, this piston was way past its lifespan. When I first saw this decompression mechanism, it was all really terribly rusted, and I thought I would need to replace this whole entire assembly. And it's actually kind of part of a shaft that goes inside of here. What I ended up doing is I have this tank full of an acid. I'm pretty sure it's phosphoric acid. It's pretty good at removing rust, so I just let it sit in there for a while, and it loosened up. Now you can tell the valve actually moves now. When you pull the cable, it kind of pulls up this lever and that pushes it in. I'm not sure how it releases. I guess it's supposed to. I'll figure that out when the bike is all put back together and running. The head looks like it's in good shape. I'm not sure if you're supposed to actually reuse these copper gaskets, but I don't see any reason not to. It looks like it's in good shape. Let me know if I'm not supposed to. Just like scream at me and say, hey, idiot, you're not supposed to use that. I'm sure this carb is in good shape. Works pretty well. I don't see any signs of it running super rich. This entire manifold here for the reed valves was like yellow. All I had to do was use some of this B12 chem tool, and that actually just wiped it straight off, and I was surprised to see that it's actually supposed to be like shiny. So that's pretty crazy. The fork seals were shot. Of course, that's a given with a bike that's 47 years old and it has only been ridden a couple times and then just sat in a barn or something for several years. Of course, all that rubber is going to be shot. So I went in, took all the seals out. They had some staining on them too. Here's kind of that yellow that I was talking about. So yeah, those look definitely better than they used to. The tubes look all right. There is a bit of pitting and rust beneath the plating there. Overall, the forks look like they're in pretty good shape. So that gas leak I was talking about was actually the petcock. There's supposed to be a rubber seal in there. Oh my goodness, try my best not to knock it off. There's a rubber seal that's supposed to go in there in this cap. This filter has seen some better days for sure. And this cap goes over the end here. You can see there's a bowl and then a little nut that goes over it. And that seal was, of course, shot. I mean, I could snap it into pieces. So that's pretty much what's going on with all the parts on the table here. I'll read through this parts list that I have put together. I'll kind of go through that and tell you guys what's going on with the rest of the bike through the parts list. Of course, you're going to need new fuel line. I mean, I don't know why you would ever reuse this. 47-year-old fuel line, there it is for you. It's missing the rear turn signals. I don't know if we're going to get those specifically or if it'd be cheaper instead of buying bulbs for the front, because those bulbs went bad, would be better than just, you know, buying a whole set. I don't know. The bulbs for the clocks, bulbs for the turn signals, bulbs for the brake. There's a high beam indicator light, and so that bulb needs to be replaced. Apparently with bikes around this age, it's pretty common for the headlight projector assembly to kind of be a permanent fixture, so you have to get that entire thing replaced if your headlight goes bad. All of my control lines and my speedo and tack cables are being replaced because they're all crusty and old, and of course that's no surprise. Found a kit all put together for only $69, all of the cables in one set. Rear brake shoes, pretty crusty, not too terrible. There's still life left on them, but this side is thinner than this side, same over here, and it's just really dirty, and I'm sure this bearing has seen better days, or this bushing. The front brake shoes are new though. Of course every bike needs grips. I noticed everyone loves pillow tops, so I'm giving those a try for the first time. I need a battery, grommets for the frame. All of the rubber, of course, is bad, needs to be replaced. The cover for the footrest, right, so the rubber that goes over the piece, there's actually one missing right there. I'm actually doing an airbox delete on this. I'm just slipping a unipod right onto the intake of the carb. Of course, fork seals, I mentioned those. The inner tube, I'm checking out these Pirelli MT43s and the IRC TR8s. So let me guys, if you know any good cheap tires, of course, money buys good tires, but if you guys have any good budget options, let me know. And chain. That chain is terrible. Very loose, really crusty, to be expected. So these turn signals actually aren't too bad. What I ended up doing with this one is sanding it with 2000 grit sandpaper and buffing it, and it actually turned out pretty well. Here's one that hasn't been buffed. You can see it's kind of cloudy and doesn't look too great. I would definitely recommend that. I might show you guys how to do that with that turn signal. Steel wool cleaned up the handlebars actually pretty well. This is where I didn't do it. You can see it's kind of blech. This brake shroud definitely could be better. There's kind of some scrapes and some cracks, but I'm not going to worry about that. I don't need to replace it. Also, this wiring is a complete mess right now. I know I took all of the tape off of this whole middle section to try to see if I could find any shorts or any breaks in the wire, because the front turn signals don't work. I went inside of this switch and actually cleaned out the whole mechanism. It actually clicks way better now. Oh, this clutch cable got all loosey-goosey, so I had to use some vice grips to kind of tighten this up, and now it's really good. now it's just kind of reassembly time. After I order some parts, I'll be able to put this thing back together, and I'll kind of document through that process. I know I should have started from the beginning when I was taking it apart with you guys, but I didn't. I think this won't be the best beginner motorcycle by surprise. Yeah, I know that's incredible. The first enduro bike, I know it's gonna have like absolutely perfect design features and have absolutely no flaws. But at least it'll get me into motorcycling. I don't even have my license yet. I'll have to go take my test for that. So instead of just leaving you guys hanging without actually doing anything, this gasket for the exhaust has quite a bit of carbon buildup on it. So I'll go ahead and throw this in the ultrasonic tank and let you guys see how that turns out. Now, it's not perfect, but it sure is an improvement. So there you have it. A halfway finished project and a clean exhaust gasket. Why does anyone watch my videos?